Welcome to Veteran Voices, SITREP, with your hosts, Tom and Chris Faust.
Welcome to Veteran Voices. I'm Tom Faust, your host, and my co-host, Chris, my son. And today we have a guest, Denise Yorde, and we're going to talk about self-sustaining communities. And so, Denise, I would like you to introduce yourself a little bit, talk about your military background, and just a little bit about yourself as we get started.
I was in the Army. I spent 23 years in the Army, and then I retired. I was in the Army band. I was a piano player in the Army band, but we did all the same things that everybody else in the military does. And that's a question that we most often got asked as a bands person. Oh, you just play an instrument. Not true. Not true. We did all the other training. We did weapons qualification, probably one of my favorites. We did NBC training. We ran our whole office like no other did. Like, people would come in and audit our admin and our training and our security as if we were actually in the West in those areas, and we weren't. We were bands people. I was in, like I say, for 23 years, and then I retired and went on to become a teacher.
Nice. How was the transition for you from military to civilian life?
It was quite a shock to move from military life to civilian life, because I had always lived on post, always took part in the housing that was on post. I did not have the same bills that people who lived off post had, but even then, the military subsidized for those things. Moving into a civilian community, it was definitely a shock. The cost of living, the cost of medical insurance. When I went to my teaching job, I opted for the medical insurance, had a husband and 3 kids, and I already had TRICARE, but I thought I would supplement with it. When I saw that they took $800 out of my paycheck, I went straight to HR and I said, don't do that. I already have insurance. And it really gave me pause for people who don't have that kind of protection as far as insurance goes. So yeah, it was kind of a shock.
So what is it that sparked your interest in self-sustaining communities? What got you moving in this direction?
The idea for self-sustaining communities for me came about when I looked into how homelessness is dealt with from community to community, and the resources or lack thereof that are available for homeless people.
So I guess for those who might not fully understand what exactly it is, can you kind of explain what a self-sustaining living community is and how it differs from traditional housing?
Sure. So, here I live in a house. And so I have indoor plumbing and water, running water, electricity, and I pay bills for those every single month. I go to the grocery store and I buy food. A self-sustaining living community would eliminate most of that, if not all of it, hopefully, by the time it's completely built. Self-sustaining communities rely on community gardening and having farm animals to have for milk and eggs and just eating in general. And they would replenish themselves, they would reproduce. And the community of homeless veterans would be the ones who are taking care of this.
And so what are some of the benefits of this kind of community, especially to veterans, and particularly veterans that have been homeless?
The benefit of a self-sustaining community is that you're not going to run out of the resources. Specific to veterans, it gives them the camaraderie that we as veterans are used to having among other people who have served, and we get to do something together towards a greater good. We know how to work together towards a common goal. And I think that most veterans thrive on working with other people towards a greater goal.
Yeah, what are some of the challenges that you can think that would be faced when creating these communities?
Yeah, okay, so that's a super question, because that's kind of where I am. Some of the challenges in creating such a community is, first and foremost, where to start. Where to purchase the land. Is the land going to be of a caliber for self-sustaining? Where can I get funds to do such a thing? How can I work with the resources that are in place within my community already, such as HUD, to be able to make this happen? How can I marry my idea with what they're already doing so that we can work together?
So what are some of the main benefits of self-sustaining living communities for veterans? How does that really benefit them?
Again, that sense of camaraderie among them, allowing us to share our skills and work together to provide a community where we can all be proud of what we have put together.
So what do you think some of the unique skills that veterans would bring to the community building?
Some of the skills that they would definitely bring are leadership, as well as the various skills that they had when they were working in the military, and being flexible and adaptable to be able to function in whatever role you give them.
And it seems to me that military people have a lot of experience working together, working with leadership, learning how to follow orders, learning how to give orders as you advance through your career. And so I would think that this leadership experience would really help to translate into managing and developing the community as a whole. So do you think there's any other ways that leadership roles could work to, for the military to help keep these communities running?
Yes, absolutely, because there has to be a structure in place in order for it to maintain functionality. There's going to have to be not necessarily a hierarchy, but definitely administrative roles, for lack of a better term, to be able to put the systems in place to maintain this kind of sustainability, to maintain the accountability that's going to be required, to put the schedules in place for what people need to do and to be able to work together.
So, and I guess one could also think of this too. We can kind of go to a different aspect of it, because we know that it's going to give the veterans a place to live and something to do that's probably will cost them significantly less than it would if they were renting or paying mortgage on a house here. But another thing that I can see it affecting is their mental health, because if they're actually physically doing something, do you think there's any sort of mental health like therapy that they might be able to get from helping maintain a self-sustained community?
Yeah, I do. I think that, of course, not only just living within the self-sustaining community and gaining the benefit of the community that they're in, they would still maintain access to their regular veterans benefits. But beyond that, nature, therapy.
Yeah, because I would think too that being, having something to do also helps, because I know that
Sure.
Some veterans might be dealing with some form of whether it's PTSD or something that happened that if they're just not doing anything, if they're, silent, nothing's going on, then that just gives their mind a lot more time to think about things when doing something like, whether it's, gardening or, farming or something like that would, keep them, keep their mind focused on other productive things instead of stuff that they don't really need to or want to think about.
Yeah, I would think that caring for animals would be a big thing for that as well, because it always caring for something or someone else gives you a sense of purpose. And I think that would help too.
Yes, that's where I was going to go with it, with the sense of purpose. As one who suffers from PTSD for various reasons, it's very easy to go down the slippery slope and just get stuck where you are. But when I have a sense of purpose, when I'm working towards something, when I know that there is a goal to be attained for whatever reason, I'm a much happier, healthier self because I'm not stuck here. And I think that would be a great thing for veterans. Outside of the self-sustaining communities, you don't have that for a solution to homelessness for them. For me, it just looks like they put a Band-Aid on it. Here's a place to live. That doesn't help me have purpose. That doesn't help teach me skills. That doesn't help me help others. So here I am. I might have a place to live now, but I might not have it very long because I might not be able to afford it because I'm stuck in my head.
That kind of brings me to another question about how are these communities funded? Who pays for the land that they're going to be on? Somebody has to provide some land or infrastructure, materials to build this. Where does that come from?
That's another great question that I am still working on, trying to figure out how to work with the resources in the community. But however, my business that I am doing, I intend to take from the proceeds and start this. Not quite there yet, but that is the goal, is to use my own from my business and get this going.
And I guess you probably could try and look for donations or grants, maybe government grants as well, I would suppose. Hopefully you can.
Yes.
So are there going to be, do you think there are like any educational programs, workshops on sustainability and, green living offered to veterans in the communities?
I think it's going to be a very necessary thing. I think it's definitely going to be a very necessary thing because I don't think many of us who would venture into such a living community have those skills already. My hope is that veterans who do have those skills would be willing to come and reach out and help us learn how to do these things.
Yeah, I guess then in that same line, then just the fact of going in, taking, learning whatever they need to learn to help build the community is going to help the veterans gain new skills as well, which could help them in the community or even in employment opportunities as they go on. So I know there's other organizations out there that Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has a program that can help homeless veterans. Veterans Off Grid is one that we kind of discussed off camera that looked pretty interesting in what they're doing. They've been building a community in New Mexico. And we'll provide links to these various things, by the way. So how do you think these collaborations with other places like that might help to, with the success of your idea for a sustainable community?
Yeah, when I look at the Veterans Off Grid, what I noticed about that is this was a guy in a community who said, I want to do this. And that's me right now. So just seeing that is, I know that it can be done. And so my next step with him is reaching out and saying, hey, what did you do? How did you do this? What resources did you use? And it's also getting in touch with like HUD-VASH, whatever's available in my community, and just learning. It's a great big learning curve figure out what's available and how to collaborate to make it happen.
What can you think of are the most significant obstacles in developing and expanding self-sustaining living communities?
I think that varies from community to community. For me, because I'm thinking about this for my particular community, my biggest hurdle is the learning curve, figuring out who to collaborate with to make it happen. Beyond that, when we go to make it happen, we purchase this land, and how we're going to build the housing that's there, because we're going to need housing when we get there. So that's a hurdle. All of these how questions, I think, are the biggest hurdle for me.
How are these communities, how do you think you would integrate along with the larger local and regional area? Like, would it be out in the middle of nowhere? Would it be somewhere near a larger city where you could get, some help from them or the county or anything like that?
I'm in Ohio. I'm in central Ohio, and south of me is Wayne National Forest. And we have what's called the Hocking Hills, and there is land that is for sale out there all the time by 2 acres, 16 acres, 50 acres, 400 acres. They have auctions for these all the time. So there's definitely land available. Is it in the middle of nowhere? No. Is it away from a major city? A bit, but that's the whole point, really. The self-sustaining, you don't need to be next to Walmart,
I guess if it's in a forested area, then you have the potential to have the wood and materials to help build as well.
Yes. And hunting and fishing right there.
Now, I know that this is kind of a new thing we're trying to, get off the ground and talk about. Are there any other veteran organizations or communities that you're involved with?
I am currently involved with the Disabled American Veterans. I attend their monthly meetings. I'm fortunate to have a VA hospital, quote unquote, nearby. It's not a hospital, it's a clinic, but it's big enough to be a hospital. And there's lots to do over there.
So talking about the VA hospital kind of made me think about this next thing here is, are these communities designed to be inclusive for veterans with disabilities? Because there's going to be a lot of that with, injuries and things.
Yes, that's also a really good question. It's physical injuries, mental injuries. I don't see any reason why we cannot find something for every veteran to do.
I guess from gardening to building, constructing, anything that they're capable of. Playing music, singing.
Like if they're not able to get out there and throw a hammer and, cut wood or whatever, they are going to be able to do sit-down jobs.
Helping with communications with the area around the community, because there would have to be some coordination with other larger communities nearby. Somebody needs to deal with all of these things.
Yeah. The end goal here is not just for veterans anyway. Mm-hmm. It's to start with the veterans, to create this for veterans. But the homelessness epidemic is much larger. I think our current veteran homelessness rate is 4% of all homelessness as of 2023. But if we could take that 4% and make something happen, what greater good could we do for the community around that is also suffering from homelessness, and bring them in and they can see what these homeless vets are doing? We're not different from anybody else. We might have had some team building, teamwork skills that some of these other people do not have, but everybody desires a sense of purpose, and everybody would be able to participate in that.
So down the road, you'd be able to hopefully take care of more of the other 96% then as well.
Yes.
Hopefully. Okay.
Yes.
So Denise, for other listeners that might be interested in helping or supporting, volunteering, anything like that, what kind of opportunities would be available for people who just want to help out?
The number one thing is to get educated on homelessness, particularly veterans homelessness. You can find all kinds of information online about that. And when you do, you will also find ways to help depending on where you live and what your community is doing for homelessness in the area. Aside of that, donating time, volunteering at homeless shelters, volunteering at soup kitchens, those are really some of the best ways to help.
So, Denise, what advice would you give to somebody who is currently transitioning from military to civilian life, especially if they're considering moving into some sort of, self-sustaining community?
Learn everything that you can about it before you choose to make that kind of a leap from, all the automated life that we know. If you are a homeless veteran and you want to experience a self-sustaining living community, I would definitely explore everything that's involved in it and see how you can get involved in one that is near to you.
Let's kind of move a little bit more to your personal side a little bit there. Is there anything that you know now about this and about transitioning from the military or whatever, anything related to this subject that you wish you'd known earlier when you were just leaving the service?
I wish that I had known that the cost of living was truly unbelievable in comparison to what we experienced when we were on active service, to be able to better prepare for that.
And kind of like, what other things are you passionate about now besides the self-sustaining communities? Whether it's other activities that you volunteer for with regards to veterans or military stuff.
Again, I'm involved with the Disabled American Veterans Association. I'm a lifetime member with them, and I am involved in their community outreaches, trying to help other disabled American veterans be aware of what their benefits are and collect on those. Close enough to home is my dad is a veteran, and he was not aware of the PACT Act. So I have been a sole source of getting that benefit rolling for him.
So how do you spend your time outside of this? What do you just like to do in your free time? I
still like to play the piano. That's what I did in the military. That's what I've done since I was 6 years old. Music is one of my favorite things. I'm an avid gym geek and nutrition freak. And any projects, indoor, outdoor, give it to me. I think that's one of the things that really is fueling my desire to do self-sustaining living communities, is because I love projects. I love the end result of projects. And not only what they do for me, but what they do for people around me.
Yeah, and if you're going to spend energy on a project, this seems like a nice big project to focus some of those resources to.
It is a big project for sure.
So is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we go?
I created a slideshow about veteran homelessness that I'll be happy to share with you guys, and you view it.
Yeah, if you want to share that with us, I can just tack it on to the end of this episode here as a continuation.
Thank
so we
you.
can do that. That'd be great.
All right.
So, today we talked a lot about the sustainable, self-sustaining, let me get the wording right, self-sustaining communities. And I would encourage all of our listeners to check out what you can, see how you can help. If there's anything, if you have the resources, if you can volunteer, that's probably even better. I'm sure the hands-on is what's needed the most. So, I just want to thank you, Denise, for taking your time with us. And once you get it going, we definitely want to get you back on here and see some of the result.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else, Chris, from you?
No, I think we're good here. Look forward to seeing how this all pans out, because it sounds like it's a fantastic idea, and I think it could help a lot of people. I just want to see it get off the ground. That'd be really cool.
All right. So on that note, we will include links to as many things as we can related to self-sustaining communities and how you might be able to help. And we thank you for listening and bid you farewell.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
And now, here's Denise Yorte's slideshow.
Imagine with me a nation that prides itself on its freedoms and prosperities, yet it grapples with the unsettling reality of homelessness among those who have sacrificed so much for its ideals. It's brave men and women who served in our armed forces. As a retired Army veteran, I understand the difficulties that veterans face when transitioning from active service to civilian life. Also a member of the Disabled American Veterans Organization with a combined rating of 90% disability, I understand the additional challenges that veterans with disabilities face. These challenges increase the need for a sense of community and collaboration with other veterans. Today, I come before you to shed light on a pressing issue that demands our attention: the homelessness crisis among our veterans. And I'd like to propose a solution that not only honors their service and restores their dignity, but also brings honor to their communities as well. This map shows the number of veterans experiencing homelessness in each state as of 2022. Here's a startling fact. The National Low-Income Housing Commission released its annual data for 2023 in December. There were over 650,000 people experiencing homelessness in the United States. Over 35,000 of them were veterans. While homelessness for veterans has decreased by 52% over the last decade, it has begun to increase again since the COVID-19 began. Currently, 1 out of 20 individuals that are experiencing homelessness are veterans. In this brief discussion, we will dive into the failure of traditional approaches to address homelessness among veterans, explore the promise of self-sustaining living communities as a transformative solution, and emphasize the urgent need for action and advocacy in supporting our nation's heroes. As we begin, let's take a look at the failure of traditional approaches and the detrimental impact of criminalization on our nation's heroes. Despite noble intentions behind the programs and shelters, they often fall short of addressing the complex needs of our homeless veterans. The National Low-Income Housing Commission stated in 2022 that overcrowding and open bay style sleeping arrangements contribute to safety and security issues. Lack of resources, particularly physical and mental health care, contribute to a continued decline in disabilities, the inability to work, chronic homelessness, suicide, and wrongful incarceration. Wrongful incarceration has the potential to increase as lawmakers in the communities consider proposing legislation based on the Cicero model, which basically criminalizes homelessness. This hurts not only people experiencing homelessness, but also their communities. The National Alliance to End Homelessness issued a statement on January 16, 2024, denouncing the Supreme Court's decision to hear a case on whether or not, get this, people should be ticketed, fined, jailed, or in some way punished for sleeping on public property. when no shelter is available. The Cicero Bill is a model anti-homelessness template for legislators to use in their own communities. You can find the model at the Cicero Institute online. The National Low-Income Housing Commission demonstrated in 2022 how such bills steer monies originally allocated to supports like affordable housing if the community allows encampments and other unsheltered homelessness. Having shed some light on the shortcomings of the current methods, let's take a peek at the promising alternative, self-sustaining living communities created by and for our veterans who are experiencing homelessness. Imagine a community where every individual has a place to call home, a space of their own, built with their own hands. Self-sustaining living communities offer just that. These innovative spaces are not merely shelters. They are vibrant living communities where our veterans work together to build their houses, raise livestock, grow food, and support each other. Through such a collaborative effort, they regain a sense of purpose, camaraderie, and pride in their accomplishments. Currently, there are no such communities for veterans experiencing homelessness. However, the Community First Village in Austin, Texas has drawn great attention to the potential for success for such a community with their 500 plus residents self-sustaining living community whose home organization is Mobile Loaves and Fishes. A concern for this type of community, though, is the type of support that would be available for the veterans once they're in there. Put into place for veterans, these communities would garner support from the Veterans Administration, or the VA, for health care and other benefits afforded to veterans. They would also benefit from community supports. In addition to support provided by the VA, veterans experiencing homelessness will have access to supports such as community services and education and workforce development. With a vision of hope in mind, it's necessary to recognize the urgency of action and advocacy in providing these veterans with the support that they deserve. The time for complacency is over. We cannot stand by idly. We can't. And watch as our nation's heroes suffer on the streets. It is imperative that we reject punitive measures and instead advocate for compassionate solutions like self-sustaining living communities. By prioritizing housing as a fundamental human right and investing in supportive services tailored to their unique needs, we can break the cycle of homelessness among our veterans and honor their service to our country. The power to affect change lies within each and every one of us. Let's join together in solidarity and strive for a future where no one is left behind. While designed for veterans, the concept of self-sustaining living communities has a strong potential to seep into communities, eradicating homelessness altogether. So here we are, at the precipice of change. It's clear that the time for action is upon us. We cannot afford to delay in our efforts to ensure that every veteran has a place to call home. As we envision a future where every veteran has a place to call home, it's clear that self-sustaining living communities offers a beacon of hope for them. They embody the spirit of resilience and camaraderie that defines our veterans. Let's not falter in our commitment. Together, let's rally behind our heroes, support their journey to recovery, and build a future where no veteran is left behind on the streets. I urge each and every one of you to join me in advocating for the establishment and support of self-sustaining living communities for homeless veterans. Whether through volunteering your time or donating resources, advocating for policy changes, every action counts. Let us stand together in solidarity with our veterans and work tirelessly until every one of them has a place to call home. Together, we can honor their service and sacrifice by ensuring that they receive the support and the respect that they deserve. Let us stand as one, united in our commitment to ensure that every veteran has a place to call home, where their sacrifice is honored and their dignity is restored. Thank you.